In this session, we're going to look at fractions, so adding, subtracting, multiplying and dividing fractions. Firstly, let's look at adding. These two fractions have the same denominator. Imagine you've got a pie and you've cut it into 8 pieces. I've got 3 of those 8 pieces here, and I've got another 2 of them over here. If I put them together, they're still cut into 8 pieces, but there's 5 of them. So there's 5/8 now instead. So notice how the number on the bottom of the fraction doesn't change. Same for subtraction. If I've cut my pie into 6 pieces, I've got 3 of them and I'm taking 1 of them away. I'm left with 2 of them, 2/6, which simplifies. I can divide the top by 2 and I can divide the bottom by 2 to get me 1/3. It's important that we remember to always simplify our fractions so that they are in the lowest form they can possibly be. Now let's look at an example where the denominators aren't the same. So here we've got 2/5 and 1/4. They've got different numbers on the bottom, so I can't just add them. I've got to change it first and make the number on the bottom the same. So let's pick something that's in common between 5 and 4. How about 20? So I could make both bottom numbers 20. So what have I done to get from 5 to 20? I've timesed it by 4. So that means I've got to do the same to the top number. So I need to do 2 times 4 to get 8. So my first fraction is 8/20. My second one, what have I done to get from 4 to 20? I've timesed it by 5. So I need to do the same to the top. So 1 times 5 is 5. So my second fraction is 5/20. Now they've got the same number on the bottom, I can just add them. So I've got 8/20 and I've got 5/20. So altogether, that gives me 13/20. And I can't simplify that, so that's my final answer. Let's look at a subtraction example. So if I've got 2/3 and 3/8, again, these don't have the same number on the bottom, so we need to make that the case. So what's in common between 3 and 8? 24 would work. So let's make the bottom number 24. So what have I done to make 3 24? I've timesed it by 8. So I need to do the same to the top number. So 2 times 8 is 16. For the second fraction, 3/8, what have I done to make 8 24? I've timesed it by 3. So I need to do the same to the top number. 3 times 3 is 9. So now I've got 16/24, take away 9/24. The numbers on the bottom are the same, so I can just subtract. 16 take away 9 is 7. So the answer is 7/24. And I can't simplify this, so that is my final answer. Now let's look at multiplying. If I've got 2 fractions and I want to multiply them both, it's really simple. We just times the top numbers and we times the bottom numbers. So for example, 4/7 times 3/4. I'm just going to do the top 2 numbers. 4 times 3 is 12. And then I'm going to do the bottom 2 numbers. 7 times 4 is 28. So I'm left with 12/28. But I can simplify this. I could divide both the top and the bottom by 4. So 12/28 becomes 3/7. And that's my final answer. Now let's look at dividing. If I'm dividing a fraction, I'm going to think about KFC. Keep, flip, change. So the first bit means to keep the first fraction. So 2/7 divided by 4/5, I'm going to keep that first fraction as it is. Then I'm going to flip the second fraction. So 4/5 becomes 5/4. And change means change the sign. So instead of a divide, I'm going to make it a times. So I'm left with 2/7 times by 5/4. And I know how to do that. I'm just going to times the top 2 numbers. 2 times 5 is 10. And I'm going to times the bottom 2 numbers. 7 times 4 is 28. 10/28 can simplify if I divide them both by 2 to get 5/14. So to recap, when adding 2 fractions together or when subtracting 2 fractions, the number on the bottom must be the same. When multiplying, we just times the tops and the bottoms, and then simplify. And to divide, think about KFC. Keep, flip, change. That's keep the first, flip the second, change the sign.